Hello, my name is Valentina Vee and welcome to Getting Started in Premiere Pro with me. I am a filmmaker. I live in Los Angeles. I do commercials, music videos, TV shows, working on a film right now. I do a lot of things, but I also love to give back to the community and teach what I know. This is for people who are getting started with Premiere Pro, who are maybe you're switching from a different program, or maybe this is your first time editing. I'm going to show you how to start building a video. Let me know where you're from. We are currently streaming on the Adobe Care YouTube channel. So if you can hear me, say the word Apple in the chat and let me know where you're from, where you're watching, and also what kind of videos you want to make. I want to know. Today, my example video will be on a featurette that I made for a TV show. Essentially, we made 2 seasons of a travel show, traveling all around the world with renowned photographer Elia Licardi. And now we're trying to pitch it and sell it to a Netflix or an Amazon Prime or something like that. And so we made this behind the scenes featurette because I feel like people probably won't have time to watch the whole show. There's like 17 episodes, but there's more than 17. There's like 19 episodes, but they probably will have time to watch, a featurette for a few minutes. We got Skylark from London, Heather from Petaluma, California. Looks like people are hearing me and seeing me. I forgot that I had you say Apple in the chat room. So at first I was like, why is everyone saying Apple? Billy's here. Linda is from New York. Hello, everybody. New York, it's like afternoon there. We got Andy from Petaluma. We got Nitri from India. Well, welcome, everyone. So let's hop in. The first thing that I want to show you is my folder organization. I know. It's kind of boring, but I'm not going to show it to you for very long, I promise. I just think it's really handy because a lot of people probably don't know. So here we have my folders, and as you can see, I have here footage, audio, graphics, music, photos, documents, Premiere, etc. And the most important thing is it's important to have your Premiere be a folder, like on your hard drive, wherever you keep your files, have your Premiere be a folder, because when you create a Premiere Pro project, it will go in here. And all of the other assets that Premiere generates will also go in here. What do I mean by assets? Well, Premiere auto saves every X number of minutes. You can tell it, hey, auto save every 5 minutes for me. And all of those auto saves, they will go in the folder as well. All of the versions will go in this folder. So it's important to make a folder for Premiere, and then the rest of your folders can be however you want them to be. I like separating my footage from my audio, from my graphics, so that when I pull in new assets, I know exactly where they go. So that's important. So now let's go into Premiere Pro. This is what it will look like when you open it. And the first thing you're going to do is go to New Project. New Project is where you create a new project, obviously. You don't have to worry about any of this other stuff over here. So just go to New Project. And then you're going to go to Browse, and this is where you will find that folder that you made, right? So our folder was called Premiere, and that is what we select for our folder, and we say select folder. So now you can see that that folder selection shows up here under location. So that's where we're going to save our project, create our project. We're going to call this MIT, which is the name of the show, Moments in Time, demo video. And the other thing, if you check your scratch discs over here, you'll see same as project, same as project, same as project. And that's where, we'll put all of the little previews. So every time you watch back or render a clip, the little preview is going to save in the same folder. The projects are going to auto save in this folder. If you downloaded anything from the libraries, it's all going to save in the same folder. Very handy for us. And I'm going to say, okay. So far, so good, right? Reginald asks, are you using Windows or Apple? I'm using Windows. I switched to Windows actually to edit this show, which is interesting enough. So when you open up Premiere, you're going to have basically these 4 panels as default. You have your source, you have your project, you have your program, and you have your timeline. It's pretty simple, actually. So you put all of your clips in here, right? This is where all of your clips will live that you're looking at, that you're drawing from. And then you preview them in here. So you can take a bigger look at them and see what's inside that clip. Once you're ready to build your video, you will start putting your clips in here in your timeline, one after the other. And then here is where you will see what your final video is looking like. So essentially, clips in here, view them here. Final video in here, view it here. Very, very simple. Then you have your tools right here. So this is how you switch from, say, your selection tool to your cut tool to your type tool and all of that jazz. But you can also, as you can see, hover over each tool. And as you hover over it, it should, there we go. It should pop up the shortcut. So if you ever forget what the shortcut is, you can always hover over it. Now, you may think, oh, a beginner doesn't use shortcuts. You already know a lot of shortcuts just by being a computer user. Like, for example, Command C, Command V for copy and paste. It's the same thing here. These shortcuts today, you'll learn a couple, right? You'll learn the V shortcut, that's for selection. And then you'll learn the C shortcut, that's for the razor tool. So that's the C shortcut to cut a clip. You'll also learn some other keyboard shortcuts that might make it easier for you in the long run. What kind of computer are you using? I am curious. What kind of system do you use? What's great about Premiere Pro is that it is multi-platform. So pretty much everything I'm showing you here, you can also use on a Mac, and I'll give you the Mac shortcuts as well for it. So now that we have Premiere Pro open, it's a blank slate, right? We're going to start putting our files into here, into our project window. And what's cool is that our files are already split up into folders. So when we start dragging them in, they will already be in folders. For example, we have our footage folder here, but inside the footage folder, if we double click, we have a bunch of other stuff. Like we have these 4 videos from Elia. He's the host of the show. Then we have these 3 videos from me. I'm the director. Then we have the trailer over here, and we have a few other folders. So if we want to drag everything in, all we have to do is go out and select the whole folder that says footage. I'm going to select the footage folder. I'm going to press Command or Control on Windows, select audio as well. I'm going to drag these in. And you can see it takes a second. They're importing, which means that they're being taken into the folders. Now you can see sometimes inside of your folders, you'll have some file types that are not supported. In this case, in my audio folder, I had some audition files from a different program. It's going to say, hey, there's a file import failure. That's okay. What's cool about Premiere is you don't have to decide which files work for Premiere, which ones don't. It automatically just brings in all the files that do work. So now I have this footage folder, and right now I'm in list view, which means I can see everything and everything is listed for me. I can also go into icon view over here at the bottom, so to see everything as thumbnails, which is going to make it a little bit easier for me to be able to see what those clips are. And I instantly kind of start seeing, oh, I don't think this clip is relevant actually, so I can delete it because I immediately saw that I'm wearing a different shirt in this clip that I am wearing in this clip, which means that it's probably not even relevant to this project. I didn't even record it for this project. So I can go ahead and very easily click delete, the little trash icon. right? So now I have these 4 clips from Alaya, 1, 2, 3, 4, these 2 clips from me, and the trailer for our show, which is where I will be pulling B-roll footage from. Looks like a lot of people are on either, well, obviously you're on either Mac or PC, but it looks like it's a pretty even split. Reginald says, I love how attentive you are. I try, Reginald. I try. So now that we have these, if you want to see them bigger, there's a couple of options. You can press the tilde key, which is the squiggly line on the top left of your keyboard, and the whole entire window is going to get bigger, right? So I press tilde, there we go. And then I can go down here to make the thumbnails bigger for me to be able to see them. So I can like make them a lot bigger, and now they're very easy to see. I can even what's called hover scrub over the thumbnails. So I'm not clicking. I'm just moving my mouse back and forth, which means I'm hover scrubbing through the thumbnails. Anybody get a new computer recently? I kind of heard good things about the new Macs. Then I can go into this folder here, and you can see a lot more stuff. One thing that I decided to do was I decided to pull in all of the exports of all of the episodes of the entire show. So I have, for example, this is episode 1 here. Then we have episode 2, and I was very organized, so I named them episode 1, episode 2, whatever they are. Episode 6, Tokyo Bridge, so the main thing in each episode. I also put some clips specifically from things that I knew that we were talking about in the video. And I also put some compilation clips. Like this is a behind the scenes compilation. This is a compilation that we did for Fujifilm, etc. Now, not only can I view the clips like this by hover scrubbing through them, but I can also play them with audio as well. So let me close up this window again by pressing tilde. So it's back in my little bottom right corner. I can make these a little bit smaller. And if I want to preview anything, all I have to do is double click it. And it pulls up in the source monitor over here, and I can play it. So I just move my little playhead, which is this little blue indicator, to the front, and I can play.
Come to find out, Andre has never tried durian before. Are you excited?
I mean, the only thing making me nervous is how excited you are. Oh man, this is a lot. If you take a look, you'll see just how appetizing it is.
So I can kind of see what's in each clip that way before I even put it into my timeline. But before I put it into my timeline, I sort of have to create a timeline. I have to create a sequence. There are different types of sequences based on how you're trying to output it, right? Say you were making this for like a big concert venue. You were making a video for a giant concert. So you would be making a sequence that's the size of the concert screen. So maybe it's like really long and narrow, and then that's the size of the sequence in color. Because right now, if I just drag all of it in, select shift, click the first one, select shift, click the last one, drag all of it in, it's all this like blue color, as you can see. No bueno. Okay. Let me know if you can see me and hear me. Give me the word banana in the chat if you can see me and hear me. If you can see me and hear me, give me the word banana in the chat, and that's when I'll know that you can. Okay, I see the word banana. Great. Thank you for sticking with me. Yay. Okay, we're back. Please let me know where I started glitching so I can pick up right where I left off. Where did I start glitching? I would like to know. What was the last thing you heard me say? because I don't want to jump too far forward and scare everyone. What's the last thing that you heard me say before I glitched out on you? The thing is, I'm in a new apartment and I'm trying my best with the internet here, but I just moved, so it do be happening. Discussion of the sequence when you moved clips into the timeline. Perfect. Okay, great. Great. Thank you so much for that. So basically, right when I added multiple clips onto the timeline, right? Okay. I will. Did you see how we talked about? Oh, okay. I talked about the concert. Okay, great. So I'll do, hold on a sec. I'll go back a little bit. Okay, so when I dragged my clips into my timeline from my footage folder, you can see that they were really, really big, meaning that the actual clip is supposed to be full screen, but this is punched in. Now, why is that? Well, it's because my sequence is a 1080 sequence and my clip is a 4K clip. How do I know that my clip is a 4K clip and that my sequence is a 1080 sequence? Well, I can go to sequence settings, and I can see right here my frame size is 1920 by 1080, which means it's HD, right? Which means it's 1920 across and 1080 down. So that's an HD sequence. That's kind of what I'm streaming at right now. However, the clip itself, hold on, the clip itself, if I right click and go to reveal in project and I take a look at it right here, I can actually go and see in this column, again, I press tilde to make it bigger. I can see in the column that says video info that it is 3840 by 2160. And if I wanted to even move that video info column a little bit closer, I could. I can just scooch the video column over. So there it is. So I'll press tilde again to get rid of that. That's the squiggly line at the top left of the keyboard. So I can see that the video info tells me that it's 3840 by 2160, which is bigger, obviously, than the sequence size. So if I want to make it the same as the sequence, a couple of things. First, I want to show you visually. So we go to fit, we'll go to 10% so you can see a little bit more around it. And while the clip is selected, we'll go over here to motion and we'll select motion. And as you can see, the bounding box of the clip is really big. So I can go ahead and make it smaller, like literally drag it by the corners and make it smaller, but that's not too accurate, right? But I happen to know that the scale is exactly 50. So I can type in 50. I can also, let's go to this one. I can also right click and go to set to frame size. That'll do the same thing. I can also, if I want to, I can select multiple clips, right click and do set to frame size. Or if I want to do it with a shortcut, I can go to edit keyboard shortcuts. Like say I forgot what the shortcut is, for example. You can see all the shortcuts under edit keyboard shortcuts. And what do I want? I want to set to frame size. There we go. It tells me what the shortcut is, Control Shift F. So I can select multiples and I can go to Control Shift F and make it the same size. Essentially, I'm just shrinking the clip to fit the sequence size. I like doing this because for A-roll, I like putting all my clips on the timeline, color coding them, and then making them the size because I'm about to chop them up, right? So I want to, before they become like 100 different clips, while there's still 4 clips, I want to chop them up. So let me fit it in and let me go ahead and start chopping. So I zoom into here, and the cool thing is you can always expand, you know, the size that you can see of any of these clips. So you can have a bigger thumbnail, for example, you can have a bigger waveform. And as I'm looking at this waveform, I see right away that this is all garbage, mama. We don't need any of this. We need to start cutting here because this is where the real content starts. This is all. I don't even have to listen to it. I will. It's probably garbage.
No, at this point, it's just behind the scenes. Moments in Time was a huge... Moments in Time...
See? Garbage. So what I have to do... it was all blue. Okay. So then I have to put a cut here, right? So I can go over to the cut tool, the razor tool, over here, click it, or I can just press C and it becomes the razor tool. My mouse becomes the razor tool and I can cut it there. It's usually linked. Let me link it. I don't know why this is all grouped. I think it's because I was doing it earlier, but it's usually linked. So when you do the cut tool, it cuts through both the video and the audio, right? This is the video track over here, and this is the audio track. Pretty easy to tell because right next to it, it says V and A, right? Video 1, audio 1. So I cut through both the video and the audio tracks, and I could just take all this nonsense in the front and delete it. So I'm just going to select it and hit delete. If I just hit delete, what happens is that all of this is just blank space. You can see nothing's happening. It's just blank up top. And then what I would have to do is just take this clip and then bring it over to fill in that blank space. But there's an easier way to do this. It's called ripple delete, which means not only does it delete, but it ripples everything behind it. Because look, I moved this clip over, but that created another gap over here, right? So then I would have to move this clip over, and then that would create another gap over here. And imagine if I did that a bunch of times, like say I was cutting, right? I cut a bunch of stuff, and I'm using Command K, by the way, that's the shortcut, instead of doing the blade tool. Say I did this or the razor tool. I cut out and there were a bunch of these gaps, right? Every single time I would have to move this over, that would take forever. So instead, I ripple delete. This is the way to ripple delete. So I'm going to undo Command Z, Command Z, Command Z, Command Z, not to get too ahead of you. Let's go back to this entire section in the front. So this entire section in the front, I'm going to ripple delete by selecting it, drawing that box, right click, and go to ripple delete. And you're probably wondering, is there a shortcut for this? Well, of course, Mac. So ripple delete. Then I'm going to listen to it and insert another cut. Now the cut shortcut, I'm frozen again. Oh, froze right at ripple delete. I'm trying. I don't know why I'm still frozen. Oh gosh, I'm good now? Okay, cool. So ripple delete is really, really, really useful, as well as Command K to cut. So Command or Control, right? And then plus K. That's going to cut your entire timeline at your playhead, which is the blue line. So all you have to do is move the blue line forward and then do Command K. Then move your blue line forward, do Command K again. Then you can take this, do Command D, and that ripple deletes it. But what's even faster than that? Well, Q and W. The keyboard shortcut for ripple delete was Command D. So I select this. So instead of deleting and going straight up delete, right? Because that creates a gap. Instead of doing that, I can either right click and go to ripple delete, or I could just do Command D. But another way to do this, say I want to get rid of this like gap of talking here. And not only do I want to get rid of this gap of talking, but I actually also want to get rid of this little doohickey here, because this is probably, he messed up there. So I want to place my cut here, and I want to delete all of this. So from this cut, it's saving the project. See, this is where the autosave comes in. From this cut to this cut, I want to delete it. And by the way, I'm zooming in over here. So I'm zooming into my timeline by moving this closer and farther. So I can see more of my timeline or less of my timeline. But I want to place a cut here, and I want to ripple delete this. All I have to do is move my playhead to that spot and then press Q. That's it. So by pressing Q, not only does it insert a cut, it ripple deletes. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to cut out all of the silences. I'm going to go Command K, move over and say Q. I'm going to go over here, Command K, move it over to the end of the silence and press Q. I'm going to go over here, Command K, and you can see I'm editing this without even looking at it. For example, I know that this is all garbage because when he speaks consistently and well, you can see the waveform is consistent. When he flubs and messes up, the waveform is whatever. I don't even want to listen to it because I don't have the time. So I'm going to place my playhead here and I'm going to press Q. Now what happens if I have, let's say I cut this out, but now I want to cut this section out, right? So I want to cut the section out that is from my playhead over here to the end of the cut. So I want to go from here to here. So instead of placing a cut here and cutting out from the beginning, I want to place a cut here and cut it out from the end. Then I do W. That's the shortcut, right? W. Thank you to Leela for chiming in with Shift Delete, Ripple Delete is the shortcut on Windows. A lot of times I will create my own shortcuts and then I will completely forget that it was my shortcut and not the shortcut that is default because I just have a lot of shortcuts. I try my best. I haven't gotten into Excalibur on After Effects yet. That's a whole nother situation. Shortcuts on shortcuts for the very reason that I have to teach shortcuts. So if I skip out on all my shortcuts, I'll forget. So, okay. Let's say that I've cut everything up, right? I've ripple deleted everything that I need to ripple delete. Let's go to that portion. So here it is. Everything is cut. Everything is deleted. I had some syncing stuff, but I don't want to talk to you about that. Okay. So this is, what that looks like. And now what I want to do is I want to find myself some music to go with it. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the Essential Sound panel. Now I could either go to Audio, which is the workspace up here, or I could just pull up the Essential Sound panel. As you can see, all these panels are ever shifting. They're ever moving. You can adjust them however you want based on what you are working on in the moment. So for me, right now is a good time for me to start finding sound to lay out that track, to lay out the sounds onto my timeline so that I can later put B-roll in and I know where the B-roll is going. So I'm going to go to Window, Essential Sound. And over here, under the Browse tab in Essential Sound, you can see that you can actually search the libraries that Premiere Pro has connections with. So in this case, we have the Epidemic Sound Library, and we can search by mood or genre or filter by tempo or duration, or whether we want epidemic sound or gemendo, or whether we want vocals. So in this case, I want no vocals. I want the tempo to be faster. I want the duration. The duration doesn't really matter to me as much. So for moods, I want, I want mysterious. I want frantic. I want this to be, for genres, maybe electronic and dance. So it shows me all of the different options that I can have for the different tracks. And I can even audition them by going ahead and selecting timeline sync over here. So I can put my playhead, which is my blue line, right? At the very beginning, and by having timeline sync selected, I can go ahead and press play on any of these tracks and test them out, audition them a little bit. So let me see.
Moments in Time is a huge passion project for us, and what started as a bunch of...
Nope. Let's try that
Moments
one.
in Time is a huge...
Nope. Let's try this one.
Moments in Time is a huge passion project for us, and what started as a bunch of multicolored Post-it notes on the office wall.
No. No, no, no.
Moments in Time is a huge passion project for us, and what...
Actually, everyone, I happen to know the track that I want, so I'm just going to type it in. It's called Future Yellow. At least I think it is. Why isn't it? Let me deselect these things and see if it pops up. It is from this library, so if you were wanting to use it, you could. So I'm just going to drag in the track Future Yellow. And when I drag it in, this is like the low quality version of the track. If you actually wanted to purchase it, you would have to press the little shopping cart icon, and that way you could license it for your video as well. And you can always also change the color of it if you wanted to whatever color you want. I think for me, I eventually made it also blue. That's not great. Let's make it yellow because it's called Future Yellow. So I'm going to make it yellow. Label yellow. So when I do it here, label yellow. Okay. So now I can listen to this track and start laying out where I want things to go.
Moments in Time is a huge passion project for us, and what started as a bunch of multicolored Post-it notes on the office wall quickly turned into a...
Okay, so the track has a drop in it, and that is at the drop, that's where I want my actual talking to start. All of this intro portion, I want to put B-roll into. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to lock this track so that it doesn't move. So by pressing the lock icon, if I press that, then the track just doesn't move at all. Then I can select other things that aren't the track. And I'm going to close my Essential Sound panel for a second. Then the second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select everything. And I'm going to select everything by pressing Command or Control A. And that selects everything. So that prevents me from having to zoom out and select it like this, zoom in, etc., etc. I'm going to press Command A, and that beat drop happens where? Oh, I think I'm back. Let me know if you can see me say the word strawberry, and I think I should be back. I'm just going to hold out for at least one strawberry. Okay, great. Awesome. Okay, well, I'm going to just jump off right where we left off, which is I added the music, and now I'm sort of looking at these chapters. I like choosing music tracks that aren't just like the same thing the whole time, that have a chapter here, maybe there's like a dip here, there's a dip here, there's a dip here. So I sort of judge my edit based on when the music kicks in, etc., etc. So what I'm going to do is, this edit is obviously a lot longer than my video, but I'm going to have several music tracks going through it. So this is what it looks like. Oh, this is with music and B-roll. Let's do a version. I'm going to duplicate this, and this is going to be before I add B-roll. Delete all the B-roll for now. Yeah. So basically, this is what it looks like when I have my music laid out and I have no B-roll yet. But you can see I have my music laid out here, here, here. It's 3 different tracks. And I have those files, the purple ones are the ones of me talking, and the blue ones are of Elia talking. And I'm going to remove all of those attributes so that the music doesn't have any ducking yet, because I want to show you how this works. But let's play it as it is now with the way that the music is. So I'm going to go to the beginning and save it and play it. So that's that intro.
Moments in Time is a huge passion project for us, and what started as a bunch of multicolored post-it notes on the office wall quickly turned into a worldwide massive scale project. We wanted everything to be in motion, and that means we didn't just want to have sit-down standard static interviews, we wanted the show to feel dynamic.
So it feels like, it just feels like the music is too loud, right? So in the same panel, when I go to Window, Essential Sound, I can do a few things. So right now we were in the Browse tab, right? The Browse tab is where we found the music. But I'm going to go to the Edit tab, and that's where we can do our editing. So I'm going to select all of the audio here. Let's just take it down to just one track of audio here. Oop. I'm going to select just the audio, all of the audio here, and I'm going to tag it as dialogue. It looks like it was already tagged. I'm going to remove those attributes and re-tag it. Clear audio type. So I'm going to select all of the audio, and then I can tag it as dialogue. And once I tag it as dialogue, all of these little things appear that help me repair it. For example, I can auto match the loudness because I was recording into a mic. Elia was recording into a different mic. So I'm going to auto match the loudness between everyone. I'm going to reduce the noise a little bit. So if there's any background noise, background hum, it gets rid of all of it. I'm going to de-ess, which is all of the S sounds are going to not sound as harsh, you know? I'm going to reduce the reverb in the room, like maybe, there was some reverb in the room. And I'm going to, that's it. Yeah, that's it. That's it for that. And then as far as the music goes, I'm going to tag it as, you guessed it, music, right? So I'm going to select it all and tag it as music. And then here is what's really cool is I'm going to do ducking. So ducking literally means that you duck underneath the dialogue. So when the dialogue is present, we're going to duck underneath it to make the music quieter. When the dialogue is not present, we're going to make the music louder. So I'm going to say, yes, please, I would like to duck. And I would like to duck against the dialogue. And I'm just going to say generate keyframes. And what it's going to do for me is it recognizes, as you can see right away, it recognizes where those areas are. And then it ducks away. And now I can play it and see what that sounds like.
Moments in Time is a huge passion project for us, and what started as a bunch of multicolored post-it notes.
Now, if I want to redo the ducking, like say that the fades were too fast for me and the duck amount was too little, I'm going to reselect it and do, let's see, the fades, I want them to be slower and I want the duck amount to be more. And I want it to be way more sensitive. And I'm going to regenerate those keyframes. I'm going to select everything. Do that again. Okay. And then regenerate those keyframes. And it's going to, the keyframes is literally like the little volume line that you can see going through the center here. This little white volume line. The keyframes are these dots that are placed on it in order to make the volume louder or quieter. So we have here the volume line was going this way, then a keyframe was placed, so now it goes louder. A keyframe was placed, so now it stays steady. A keyframe was placed, now it goes quieter. Keyframe was placed. So these keyframes, which are just like end caps, kind of, they can be made manually or they can be made automatically through the Essential Sound panel when you tag the music as music. Now, say, for example, in this little section, I want the middle part to not keyframe up. I want it to stay steady. All I have to do is select that middle portion, hover over it. My mouse becomes a draggy tool, and then just drag it back down. So then those keyframes, they're not playing as much. Say in the beginning, I want this volume at the very beginning to be a lot louder, so I can just drag that line up. So now I'm creating peaks and valleys in the music. So that way it goes in and out. So now that we have our music set, one thing that we need to do is bring in our B-roll, right? And remember, our A-roll, we popped in by literally taking the entire clips and popping into here. We took the entire clips, popped them into here, and then we chopped them up into pieces. And then, I rearranged them into something like this. But for the B-roll, we're going to do it a little bit of a different way. So let's go over here to our trailer. So this is our trailer for the whole show. And of course, the trailer has all the best clips, right? And so I want to pull in my favorite clips from the trailer. So I'll start with just the most epic stuff. I'll start with this shot right here of him in the dark room. So I'm going to go to where the beginning of that shot is by going to left and right on my arrows, on my arrow key. Or on my arrow keys on my clipboard. So this is the very first frame of that shot. I'm going to press the I button. That's for in point, I. Then I'm going to keep pressing the right button until that shot ends. And I'm going to press O. So now I've essentially selected just a tiny portion of that clip. And that portion I'm going to put into my timeline here at the very beginning of it, right before any of the other footage happens. So I can simply just drag it in, right? But if I drag it in, a couple things. Oh, and dragged in with let's go to the in point here. A couple things. If I drag it in like this, the audio is connected. And I don't want the audio to be connected to it because it's from the trailer and I want this audio to be here instead. So I can get rid of the audio by holding down Alt, selecting the audio and deleting it. Or if I want, I can drag it in by just dragging in the video itself instead of dragging it from here, right? I can drag it from here because this clip and this clip, same thing, right? So I can just take this, it says drag video only. I can drag just the video part of it and put it in here. Or I can use the insert and overwrite shortcuts. And if you don't, if you're not familiar with the shortcuts themselves, you can just hover below over here and you can see what they are. That's the comma and the period. And let's see what they do. So if I press comma, what happens is it inserts the clip, but then it ripples everything else that way, right? And I don't want that. I want the clip to go right in there without rippling everything. So instead of the comma, I'm going to press the period, and the period's just going to put that clip in. And now I can go ahead and press Alt, select just the audio portion of it and delete it, and then move that clip to where I need it to be. Let's find another epic clip in this trailer. Maybe this one right here, where he's putting his hat on. So I for in point, O for out point, and then we're going to press period, right? Maybe the one where he turns on his flashlight. Again, we're going to press I for in point and O for out point. and then we're going to bring it in. We can either bring it in like this, or we can press period. But what happens when I press period, check that out. This gets overwritten, right? This little red portion, it's gone because I pressed period, and this new clip of him putting his flashlight in came in right there. So what I can do is instead put this clip of his flashlight on the video track above instead. Just keep it there for now. By instead of going selecting the source patching over here, V1, I want the source patching to happen, the source, right? This is the source. I want it to be patched into V2 instead, right? So there we go. Now the audio of it went over our audio here, no bueno, right? So I can source patch the audio as well. So I'm going to undo that and then press period, and that audio source patched over here. I can hold down Alt. Now, why am I holding down Alt to select the audio? Because by default, the audio is linked. So when I press it, you see how the audio and video of each clip are selected? So I'm going to hold down Alt and delete the audio, and then, do our editing here. Oh, that is so loud. Too loud.
Moments in Time is a huge passion project for us, and what started as a bunch of multicolored Post-it notes on the office wall quickly turned into a worldwide massive scale project.
Now, when he says worldwide massive scale project, I want to put some more B-roll up here, right? To show how massive of a project this is. So let's find, let's find some massive scale. I mean, I guess we could just keep going with the trailer because there's a lot of stuff in the trailer that shows just how massive it is. So like, for example, all of these all of these drone shots, those could be incorporated. So I'm going to press I, keep going until the last one, O, and then drag that in, or, right, do the period, which is period, and then get rid of the audio. Now, as you can see here, now I have a bunch of these red clips, which are my B-roll clips. Oh, and the way that I put them up there was I selected them and I pressed Alt and I clicked up. So a bunch of my B-roll clips, they're all on the second layer, right? They're all on the second track here. So if I wanted to resize them, like I have to resize them because they're 4K clips, I select them, I go right click and set to frame size. But what if they're all over the place, right? What if they are like this? What if they are here, this one's here, and then maybe there's like another one here, and there's one here. Like, what if they are not orderly and in the same location every single time? What happens then, right? What happens when these clips are all over the place? Well, as long as they're all labeled with red, what I can do is I can apply, a motion control to every clip that is colored or color coded with a certain label. So let's go to one of Elias' clips here, one of the blue clips. Let's select it. Go over here to effect controls, because this is the effect controls of this clip. So we're going to go to effect controls, and we can see that the motion that I've added to this clip, scale 50, right? So I'm going to take the motion control, select the word motion. So now I've selected it, it's turned light gray. And I can Command C or Control C, and I've copied it. So now I know that I want to do the same motion control, the same 50% scale to every single red clip that I have. So I'm going to go to any red clip, right click it, go to label, select label group, and look at that. It selected this red clip and this red clip and this red clip and these red clips. It selected all the red clips. And now I can go Command V. Oh, did I copy it? Command C, right click, label, select label group, Command V. There we go. So now all of the red clips, which I knew were 4K, are now the proper size. They've all been resized all at the same time. This is why it's really important, I think, to color code your clips. It's the same thing with, oh, this one actually isn't. So let's put this one back to 100. It's very important to color code your clips because also it's important for color correction. Let's say that let's open up our essential our Lumetri color panel. You can see in my close-ups here, my skin is pretty well exposed, but I have some like bright white blown out in the back. And I'd also like to just increase a little bit of the saturation in my purples over here, but leave my skin the same. And then for Elia's clips, his window over here is overexposed, right? But I also like to bring up the saturation of his entire talking head. So I'm just going to go to any of my clips. I'm going to go to this one, for example. And then I'm going to go to Window, Lumetri Color. And I know I'm running a little late. This is supposed to be when I ended it, but I feel like since I had some internet issues, I'm going to be, I'm just going to stay a little bit longer if this is okay, right? Can't see what you were selecting top left. Oh, so sorry. I forgot. So this is what I'm selecting. When I went to the top left, I just selected motion. Thank you. So I just selected the motion control over here, the word motion. And then I went Command C. And then I applied it to all of my clips. Thank you for telling me that. Candy Thornton. So now I'm on this clip. I selected just one of them, right? Just one of my purple clips. And then what I want to do is I want to take the highlights down. So as you can see, the Lumetri color panel, it's kind of, you would be familiar with it if you are just familiar with like the sliders that are on your phone for editing photos. You got temperature, tint, exposure, so that's how bright the whole thing is. Contrast, that's the difference between the blacks and the whites. Highlights, those are the white areas. You also have whites. Then you have shadows, blacks, saturation. Those are your basic corrections here. So I like to just stick in the basic corrections at first. So I'm going to take the whites down, the highlights down. But you can see that brought my overall level of exposure down. Now, how do I check before and after? Well, my effects controls, of course. Just like I did with motion, there is now a Lumetri color effect control that's been added to it. And it has this little effects button that you can toggle on and off. So you can see I brought the level of the white down back there, but my overall exposure went down. So it looks better without the Lumetri color, but that's okay because I'm going to keep playing with it. So I'm going to take my whites down, and then I'm going to take my overall exposure up, and I'm going to take my contrast up. So now, see, it's way more vibrant with the Lumetri color added than it was without. Then I'm also going to go to, I could do saturation, the saturation slider, but if I increase the saturation, it increases the saturation everywhere, right? And it makes my skin tones look orange. I don't want that. So I'm going to put this back to where it was. It was at 100. And instead, I'm going to go to the curves. And here it has this thing called hue versus saturation, where I can designate that I only want these hues, I only want the purple hues to be more saturated and keep everything else the same. So I'm going to go to the eyedropper tool over here, pick up like a pink hue. And you can see it adds these little, I wouldn't call them keyframes. They're just end dots around the range that is the purple pink range. And then I can just go ahead and slide the middle one up. You can see as I slide the middle one up, pay attention to this area right here. As I slide this middle one up, that particular area gets incredibly saturated, but nothing else does, right? Because my range here is too narrow. So if I move the end frames out a little bit, you can see now the entire room becomes way more saturated. And maybe I want to saturate my green shirt as well. So I'll go ahead and place some more keyframes around the green area. Not keyframes. Keep forgetting what they're called. They're like, do they have a technical name? There we go. So now take a look before and after Lumetri color. Before, after, before, after. That may be too vibrant back there. So now that I have Lumetri color, what I'll do is I did the same thing that I did with the motion control. I'll select Lumetri color. I'll go Command C for copy. Then I'll go right click, label, select label group. So now it has selected all of the instances of the purple clips, my clips. And then I'll go ahead and deselect the one that's already color corrected by pressing Shift and clicking it, which means I don't want that color to be applied twice to that clip, right? I want it to be applied to these, and then Command V. So now that color correction's been applied to all the clips. For Elia's footage, I can do the same thing. So right now, let's take down the whites and the highlights. Let's increase that, increase the shadows, increase the contrast, give him a little bit of more overall saturation. But when I give him saturation, he looks good, but I feel like the monk on the screen becomes really, really bright. So I'm going to take down the orange of the monk's clothes. So I'm going to go to curves, hue versus saturation, press my eyedropper here, pick out that orange and desaturate it. So essentially this guy is more saturated than this guy, right? And then I'm going to increase the saturation of the whole thing. Again, I'll go into creative. There's another saturation slider in creative, and I can increase the saturation there as well. And then I can go right click, label, select label group, hold down Shift to deselect the one that I've already added it to. And then you can see if I go Command V, it's now added that color correction to everything. And I go Command S to save it. Now, Jorge says, very interesting. Thanks for your time. I have one more thing that I wanted to show. Let me see. I'm just going to check my notes here real quick. We did audio, we did color. Yes. So publishing across platforms. So let's go to the final finished video. So this is the final finished video. I'm going to close these panels. I'm going to make this panel bigger by pressing the tilde key to show it to you.
Moments in Time is a huge passion project for us, and what started as a bunch of multicolored post-it notes on the office wall quickly turned into a worldwide massive scale project. We wanted everything to be in motion, and that means we didn't just want to have sit-down standard static interviews, we wanted the show to feel dynamic.
Having the interviews be these walk-in talks also allows the viewer to be able to go through, hold on, it froze, the same way that they did. Okay, here we go.
For us, and what's
okay, back to it. Why did it freeze? I even added little titles here.
started as a bunch of multicolored post-it notes on the office wall quickly turned into a worldwide massive scale project. We wanted everything to be in motion, and that means we didn't just want to have sit-down standard static interviews, we wanted the show to feel dynamic.
Having the interviews be these walk-in talks also allows the viewer to be able to go through the spaces and experience these locations the same way that they did. Okay, let's say I want to put this on Instagram as a square, right? So all I have to do is find my sequence in the bin, and if I can't find it, then all I do is I can obviously see it here because it's open in this tab, right? So this sequence is open in this tab. So I can just right click on the tab and say reveal sequence in project, and it's going to reveal the sequence in the project. I can just right click on it, and all I got to do is go to auto reframe sequence. That's it. Auto reframe sequence is going to ask me what new frame do you want? What's your target aspect ratio? I'm going to say square. And then I'm going to click create. And just like that, it is created and reframed my sequence. Still analyzing though. Give it a sec. It's almost done.
Moments in Time is a huge passion project for us, and what started as a bunch of multicolored post-it notes on the office wall quickly turned into a worldwide massive scale project.
Now, sometimes it doesn't get it fully right. For example, it doesn't know that this is the building that we want to focus on, right? And I want this building to be in the center. So if I want to overwrite that, I just select the clip. I go over here, you can see the motion controls have been disabled because it is on auto reframe. So instead I enable the motion controls, and I can scale it and reposition it the way that I want it to be.
Into a worldwide massive scale project. We wanted everything to be in motion, and that means we didn't just want to have sit-down standard static interviews, we wanted the
This one, for example, I can also reframe because right now both of them are not on screen at the same time. So we have now both of them on screen at the same time, but it's a lot less work than if you were to do it, clip by clip, right?
show to feel dynamic.
Having the interviews be these walk-in talks also allows the viewer to, Billy asks, does it analyze the focal point automatically? Yes, it does. It recognizes faces. And so it tries to focus on faces. So for stuff like architecture, it still tries its best, but it doesn't always get it right. But it saves you a lot of time. Be able to go through the spaces and experience these locations the same way that they did. Like this one with them in the boat, for example, I can reframe a little bit better because it's more of a centered framing, stuff like that. But as you can see, it's very few things that I have to nitpick and work on. So once this is done, once you're done making your square, you're probably wondering, how do I export it as a square for Instagram? It's really, really easy. You just press Command M, which is the export settings dialog box, or you can just go to File, Export, same thing. And the default H.264 match source high bitrate. I also highly recommend going over here to video and selecting these two things, render at maximum depth and use maximum render quality, because that's going to give you the highest quality possible for your square video. Then as far as your output over here, you just click on the name. And remember at the very beginning when I showed you my folder organization. So we had our folder organization here. One of these folders was called exports, and that's where you put your exports. I'm going to select that. And the way that I name my exports is by the date, underscore what it is, underscore any other things about it, like square or with subtitles or something. I'm going to say save. or I'm going to name it actually. So I'm going to say, what's the date today? It is June 1st. Oh my gosh, it's June 1st. So I'm going to say 2021, 0601 underscore MIT underscore square underscore 1, because this is version 1 of Square. Say save, and then I'm going to press export. Or I can press Q, and that takes it to Media Encoder, which is another program. What's helpful about Q is that Media Encoder can be exporting your video while you're working on the next one, or while you're still using Premiere Pro. It doesn't tie up Premiere Pro. Export does. And that's it. That is a little bit of a refresh, or a not refresh, just a regular fresh, I guess, on Premiere Pro. And hopefully you learned something new that you can apply to your work. Like I said, I'm sorry about the internet issues. I'm trying to work them out. You have no idea. I'm trying so hard to work them out. Sometimes it just happens. But for now, I say goodbye. And hopefully, if you want me to run through this again, I'll be doing it a few more times, as well as the recording will be on the Adobe Care channel. And I have another Jumpstart course on the Adobe Video and Motion channel that you can check out if you want to go a little bit deeper. That's it for me. You can follow me on social media. I'm Valentina Vee on Twitter, valentina.v on the gram. And that's it. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.